When we were addressing the recent Oireachtas hearings on abortion, a lot of opponents of legalised abortion were worried about a line being crossed if the government legislates for abortion. They feel that it's the first time that that line will have been crossed. But in actual fact it isn't. Abortion is already legal in Ireland. The X case has already ruled that a pregnant woman in Ireland has a right to an abortion if there is a threat to her life, which can include the threat of suicide. And the Irish people have twice endorsed that decision in referenda, and the Irish people have added in one of the referendums the right to travel abroad to have an abortion under far wider grounds than are available in the X case. So what the current legislation, if it happens, is going to do is it's not going to introduce legalised abortion to Ireland, it's going to enable pregnant women to know whether or not they qualify for the existing constitutional right to abortion in Ireland. And in order to extend that, we're going to have further legislation in order to address issues like victims of rape or incest, or threats to the health of a pregnant woman, or fetal abnormalities. And to do that, we need to get rid of the 1983 referendum, which is restraining our public ethics on this issue. But while we're waiting to do that, let's not pretend that abortion is currently illegal in all circumstances in Ireland, because it isn't. As atheists, we form our own individual ethical decisions and beliefs about issues, including abortion. There are some atheists who are pro-choice, some who are anti-choice. But what does unite us is that we don't get our morality from gods. And so we don't believe that our laws should be based on what some people believe that the creator of the universe is telling them to impose on us. We believe that our laws should be based on compassion and human rights and empathy, and not on religious dogma. Personally, I believe that a pregnant woman is justified in choosing abortion based on the right to bodily integrity and bodily autonomy. But you don't need to agree with me on that in order to support legalisation of abortion. Because you can morally disapprove of something and still not believe that people should be legally prevented from doing it. We do that in a whole range of areas of our civic life. Personally, I believe that a fetus is not a human person. Certainly not at the early stages. And there's a difference between being human and alive and being a human person. But again, you don't have to agree with me about that in order to believe that abortion should be legalised. Because even if we're talking about adult human persons, there are no circumstances where the law obliges an adult person to use their body, their internal organs, or indeed their blood transfusions in order to keep another adult person alive. A parent is not obliged by law to donate an organ or to donate blood in order to keep even their own child alive after it's born. So if we don't do that, if we recognise the right to bodily integrity, even when dealing with adult persons who require the use of our body in order to stay alive, why on earth would we make an exception in terms of beings that whose status as a human person is at a minimum questionable? Personally, I believe that a woman should have a right to an abortion on request, based on the principle of bodily autonomy. But again, you don't have to agree with me on that in order to support the right to legalised abortion. Because if you agree with even one of the various exceptions that most people agree with one or more of, in terms of abortion when there's a threat to the life of a pregnant woman, in terms of rape or incest victims, in terms of fetal abnormalities, in terms of the health of the pregnant woman being at risk. If you believe in even one of those exceptions, then you believe that abortion should be legalised. And there's a very small percentage, opinion polls in recent years have shown, certainly less than 10% of Irish people believe that abortion should be outlawed in all circumstances. So if you support any of those, you support abortion. It's not a dirty word. You don't have to be ashamed of saying that you support the right to abortion. It's a basic right. Youth Defence, who are represented here today, are anti-choice. They're kind of like the mirror image of the Chinese policy of one child per family with enforced abortions. Both Youth Defence and Back Chinese Policy believe that women shouldn't have the choice as to whether they remain pregnant or not. I disagree with both of them. Youth Defence have on their website a quote from a guy called Joseph Scheidler saying Youth Defence have kept abortion out of Ireland, which isn't true, but let's leave that aside for a second. And I want to tell you a little bit about Joseph Scheidler because he's one of the people that raises funds in America for Youth Defence. He runs an organisation called the Pro-Life Action League, and they disrupt the work of abortion clinics in America. He brought out a book in the 1980s called Closed, 99 Ways to Stop Abortion, which is one of the most disgusting books that I've read in my life. It outlines inflammatory rhetoric that pro-life people should use, including Holocaust, abortuary and death camp. It describes how they have used private detectives to track down pregnant women in America to try to talk them out of abortions. It includes chapters like use the horror stories and warn the garbage man you're hauling corpses. And it outlines how to enter abortion clinics pretending that you want an abortion in order to disrupt the work of those clinics. Now, I got this copy of this book in the early 1990s in Veritas, the Roman Catholic Bishop's Bookshop in Dublin. Fortunately, it has a section in it enabling people to get on the mailing lists of abortion clinics in order to disrupt their work. And at the time, under the old version of the Constitutional Amendment, it was illegal to provide information on abortion clinics abroad. So I sent a copy of the book to the DPP and the Garda Commissioner and got banned from Veritas. So at least that referendum had one slightly useful side effect. I'm going to leave you by saying that, that if you support even one of the exceptions, then you should support this motion. If you support the right of women to travel to England for abortions, you should support their right to have abortions here. If you believe that abortion is morally wrong but should not be criminalised, then you should support this motion. If you believe in a compassionate and ethical society based on human rights for women, you should support this motion. Thank you very much.